What's up? It's JDCC, or just deconstructing car clout. It's your boy, the 10th bass player from Black Sabbath, and I got a fun one for you guys today, because I have 7 people, 7 brave, boneheaded souls that agreed to be in this video. Now, if you haven't read the title, today we're going to be judging and roasting my friends' cars. By roast, I mean basically the funniest and best insults I can come up with, and by judging, I mean, well, actually give my honest opinion about what I like and dislike about the cars. Now again, I know I have no place to talk because I have a car that doesn't run and a truck that barely runs. It's just supposed to be funny, it's just supposed to, you know, take a few jabs here and there. I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes, it's just supposed to entertain.
Bitch, you get it.
Man, you must love the sound of lift or tick in the morning. And really, not just 1, but 2 FCA vehicles? Dude, you must love changing transmissions like Chrysler likes changing leadership. Also, dude, I have not seen that many stickers since an environmentalist mother of 8 had exceptional children and was also a New England fan. And of course, the typical Jeep thing, let me take off my doors because, make sure you watch out for Death Wobble though, because I know it's post and parcel of driving a lifted Jeep. Well, that and listening to Florida Georgia Line singing about sleeping with a girl half their age. And I see that you blacked out the Charger. Is it fun being mistaken for a cop and driving 10 under on every back road you go down? Pentastar V6. I haven't seen a motor that anemic and lack of anything memorable since the Vulcan V6. Oh, you never heard of it? You get my point? Then I'll admit, I have too much respect for the Fiero to drag it through the mud. The Jeep? But dude, you must love handling issues, because not only do you have Death Wobble to worry about, but also snap oversteer. Oof. Alright, I'm gonna be honest. The whole lifted Jeep, lifted truck, that's not my forte. I don't really know so much about those things where I feel like I'm that knowledgeable to speak about it. But, in my personal opinion, I love this thing because it's crazy in all the right ways. I mean, it sounds amazing and pops like crazy, especially having the side exit exhaust on both sides. That also, with it being a 2-door, it has that cool factor. You wouldn't expect it to be as quick as it is, because it actually kind of pushes you back in your seat because of all the torque that inline 6 produces. Now, the paint could use some work, but then again, you actually take it off-road, so hey, we have an excuse, it's understandable. And after hearing your explanation for why you have more light bars than the sun, I agree. It would come in handy for blinding other a-hole motorists that just don't seem to know how to turn off their high beams. Now for the Charger. I usually never say this, but I like the aftermarket headlights. I feel like they look good and definitely an improvement over the stock ones. And also I like how, apart from some small cosmetic and interior mods, you really haven't messed with it. And I feel like, you know, that's the point. I love the Fiero and all of its 80s goodness. That also has such an amazing story, how it was originally owned by your dad and how it was a show car, and now how you bought it back and you're fixing it up. That's just something that money can't buy. Overall, I love the Jeep. The Fiero is awesome. The Charger, I could take it or leave it.
You was right.
Damn, I didn't know you're a balding dentist who's going through a divorce and a midlife crisis all at the same time. An S2000, for when you're not comfortable enough in your masculinity to just buy a Miata. I feel like if I try to have a conversation with you, it would boil down to the weight distribution and power to weight ratios of the S2000 and how it's fast. And trust me, if you explain VTEC to some disinterested date one more time, you're going to win the special prize of being blacklisted by every girl from here to Hokkaido. Just gotta ask, did the Porsche come with a comb over and a 401k standard? Porsche 944. For when you want to spend triple the cost on a turbo car and still get gapped by some kid in his catfish Camaro SS. I bet when you're not bragging about track day times, you're bragging about how you're sitting on an amazing investment. But speaking of amazing investments, I have oceanfront property in Kansas I know would be perfect for you. To be honest, I love both your cars. I mean, the 944 is an excellent car and it's in amazing shape. And it has everything a young motorsport enthusiast would want, apart from, you know, maintenance and parts cost. It is a classic 80s coupe with a turbo that anyone could love and enjoy. And I love the S2000. It is a fun, quick, reliable daily driver that has a ton of potential to grow and be turned into a real track toy. I'd honestly say more, but apart from some minor things here and there, they're both relatively stock. But, you know, on the upside, it's good for resale value. I did this to a Scion TC because if I did it to any other car, someone would shoot me. I have TVs in my headrest because the only thing I watch other than anime is Pimp My Ride. I bought the anime wrap, the wheels, the underglow, the spoiler, all to distract from the fact that you bought a Scion. It's like, wow, if you didn't waste all your money on manga, then maybe you could afford something from a brand that's still in production. That thing has so many recalls, you might as well rename it Death Note. Don't worry, I bought the loudest and most annoying exhaust as a warning for people to avert their eyes at a time. Alright guys, I'm not gonna lie, about that last exhaust joke, I really thought about cutting it. Don't worry. I'm confident that the wing is producing downforce, just like I'm confident about how my Funko Pop collection is appreciating in value. I can just imagine you saying, I built this car so I could flex on all the other kids at the anime convention, and that my D&D group thinks I'm a god. Funny enough, I actually did a review on this car, and if you want to check that out and get more of an in-depth opinion about how I feel about this car, check it out somewhere up here. I'll make sure to link it. I have something to admit. I like and I respect what you did to this car. Because it's crazy, it's loud, it's unapologetic, and I know out of all the cars on this list, it probably gets the most attention when out in public. I also gotta give you credit because, dude, you own it. You drive this car and you treat it like a badge of honor. I don't know if I would be able to. Also, I really like and appreciate the extra touches you've done to the interior, to the engine bay. I mean, the wheels. I mean, I love the color and design. They're also very aesthetically pleasing. And I feel like, as a whole, it just works on the car. Overall, I like your car because it looks like it belongs in an anime. Because of the crazy wing, the loud exhaust, and of course, you know, the crazy wrap covering the whole thing. It just works together as like one cohesive package. And honestly, I can't wait to see what you do next to it. Hopefully it's air ride, but hey, I'm not gonna judge. I'm torn when it comes to this car. Because if you asked me a few months ago to do this, I feel like my opinion would be drastically different. But with it set up the way it is right now, I like it. I think the wheels are a great contrast compared to the rest of the car, and it looks leaps and bounds better than the stock wheel that you used to have on it. I really like the front bumper and the fog lights, despite the bumper needing to be paint matched, and I would love the fog lights more if they actually worked. Also, I appreciate what you did with the exhaust, because it sounds like a V6. It doesn't sound like a V6 trying to sound like a V8. I like the build. It needs to be lower, you know, could use some extra power. Procharger maybe? Turbo? Who knows? But, here's my thing. I already know the end goal of this car. I already know what it's supposed to look like. But, I can't wait for the execution and how you pull it off. Listen, I understand. You don't want a 350 or a 370 because that means you'll blend right in. The reason why you're doing this to a V6 Mustang is because you want to stand out despite doing nothing new or innovative. Let's be honest. Is it really modded if it still falls under the factory warranty? Oh wow, your V6 Mustang makes more power than the 4.6 V8. That means that you're the fastest fat kid on the playground, but you'll still get gapped by a Ford Fusion Sport. I give it 14 months before you get bored with this car, and by that time you would have destroyed it for the sake of clout. And this thing would be worth 3 Mango Jewel Pods, half a 4 Loco, and some sloppy top behind the sheets. And really, I mean, you're not doing yourself any favors driving around in a V6 Mustang, but an automatic V6? I mean, at this point, why not just buy a Nissan Altima Coupe? At least then people could tell from a distance that you're a poser. It might be nice driving around in a Ford Taurus dressed as a Mustang, but at least the SHO has twin turbos and all-wheel drive to compensate for not having a V8. All you need now is a Starbucks latte, a Simply Southern t-shirt, and crippling college debt to complete the basic college bitch starter pack. I didn't know you were a masochist. I mean, a high mileage BMW? I'll be praying for you, dude. How much did you pay for it? Because honestly, from where I'm sitting, they should have paid you to take it off them. And just a personal question, is there any body panels on that car that match? Or did you just go buck wild at the nearest scrapyard? So is there any subframe left? Or has it materialized like any hope that this thing will be worth something in a month? Man, what did you do to those poor taillights? What did they ever do to you? And I get Bond on a budget. Why only tint one headlight at a time? I mean, like, at this point, I'm just surprised you don't have any Suicide Boys quotes somewhere on the car. I'm just in awe most of the time that you can drive this thing anywhere without cracking an oil pan or a vertebrae. Hey, I get it. You use the check engine light to make sure that the battery isn't dead. Also, I know that some stance guys have kind of coined the term like, oh, no fat chicks, car will scrape. I mean, dude, in this car, it should be no one period, car scrapes anyway. I mean, the one thing that gets me is that you took a car that would dominate the Autobahn to a car that's now dominated by a speed bump. And the thing is so low, you can probably see the nose hairs of the depressed father in a minivan next to you. I mean, it's just like when I see this car, all I can think of is, oh, I lowered my car so you can't see the puddles of fluid left behind. This one was kind of hard to roast because out of the whole list, this would be the one I would drive away with, despite my spine telling me no. The wheels, the paint, the stance, it just does it for me. I'm personally more of a performance guy than, you know, like a stancy boy, you know. But I like this one. That, and also I secretly like old BMWs, despite my wallet and brain both disagreeing with me. The wide body is a nice addition. The use of the RX-8 seats are ingenious, and after paint, all you need is wheels, and I feel like that thing would be complete. Honestly, I'm just excited to see what the next mod is, and I'm really excited to see this thing in person when it's done. Yes. 2 modes of transportation, because the chance of both of them running is as good as the Panthers winning a Super Bowl. Front-wheel drive and V8 don't belong in the same sentence, and they don't belong in the same car either. I'm glad you got stark opposites in terms of maintenance, because one, you can fit a wrench basically anywhere, and the other one, you have to take out the headlight and a fender support just to change a battery. I mean, if these vehicles were a fashion line, it would be the midlife crisis collection. Harley Davidson, because I'd rather drive a manual on 2 wheels than have a stick in my hand. And I know people say all 90s, 2000s cars look like a melted bar of soap, but this one looked like it's actually melting. The 4T65 HD, when GM wanted to compete with Chrysler on who could make the worst transmission. Why is there a ducktail on your front-wheel drive V8 car? 2006 Monte Carlo SS, for when the leather seats are made out of a harder material than the gears and the transmission. You know what? Let's just examine the W body for a moment. GM lost $2 grand per car when they were making them back in the 80s. So they decided not to pull out, but to sink more money in. And look at what we have now. A car that goes through transmissions like their owners go through 23-year-old trophy wives. 2006 Monte Carlo SS and Harley Davidson, for when your mixtape starts with Sweet Home Alabama and ends with Walk on the Wild Side. This is one of the only cars I can honestly say aged like Elvis. Because when it first came out back in the 60s, people loved it. It was the hot new thing. But towards the end of its run, it was just a bloated, disappointing shell of its former self. Now this is another good one, because this is actually another car I actually did a review on. And it's actually the most viewed video on the channel as of right now. So if anything, if you want to check that out, if you haven't already, somewhere up there, you can check that out. I love the Monte Carlo. To me, It's a perfect beginner muscle car because it's cheap V8 power, and also because it's front wheel drive, you can't oversteer it and wrap it around a tree. I like how it rides, and the styling, while not my favorite, it's grown on me. I wish it had a better exhaust though, because it drones like a college aerospace professor on the first day of the semester. And while not my favorite, the aftermarket headlights are passable. Not amazing, not horrible, passable. But while we're talking about aesthetics, dude, please fix your paint. And not with a roller like last time. Please. Take it to some shop or take it to someone, man. You need to get that fixed. Now, onto the Harley, because I don't know much about them. I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet. It's alright. I mean, I honestly don't personally like the straight pipes because I can hear you from 3 miles away, but I kind of get that that's the point. I like the Monte Carlo. Just fix the issues that plague the car. Transmission. And the bike, I'm indifferent because it just looks like every other Harley to me.
Damn boy, he's sick!
Despite initial impressions of the car, I like how it looks so far. I like it. I like the intake scoop on the front bumper. I like that the hood is actually carbon fiber and not some just shitty wrap. I like the wing because the more and more I see it, the more I appreciate how it actually follows the lines of the car. And especially with a wing, it can be really hard to do that. The wheels, exhaust, stance, wouldn't change a thing. But now here's where I want to get some flack if I haven't already. I feel like this car would actually benefit from a paint matched Nismo body kit. The one that came with it from the factory if you had a Nismo car. Because I feel like it adds just enough to where I feel like it's lacking a little bit. Because don't get me wrong, I like the wing, but just the wing in and of itself, I feel like it just needs a little bit more. And I feel like the Nismo body kit would be able to bring that kind of extra aggression to back it up. And of course, you know, you would need to have a turbo to go with it to actually back up the bark that it has with the bite. Overall, I see this car has tons of potential with whatever you decide to do, whether it be stance life, whether it be autocross, whether it be drifting. Dude, the world is your oyster. And honestly, just can't wait to see what else you do with this thing, because it's really clean. Keep it that way. The best way I can describe this car is that it is the Mustang of import cars. They're everywhere. You know at least one person who owns one. They all sound like ass. They end up running into things. And we all know you bought this because you couldn't afford a C5 Corvette. Nissan 350Z. For when your first mod is a Sawzall. Let me guess. This 350 sounds just like the rest of them. Like Fat Albert shoved a trumpet up his ass after having a 5-course meal at Taco Bell. Yeah bro, it has a pop tune. Why do you ask? You know, if you squint and cock your head at just the right angle, I have a Mark IV Supra. I mean, I feel like this is one of the only cars where you put an exhaust and wing on it to blend in. For when your clutch is spongier than that guy that lives in a pineapple under the sea. I can already imagine what this shit smells like. A tiny tree of vape juice, Axe body spray, and burnt oil. I do give you credit. You must have a rare variant 350Z where it's actually all the same color. The Nissan 350Z, for when you're most played on Spotify, is basically the Tokyo Drift soundtrack. I do give credit to the Nissan 350Z though, because it is one of the only cars ever to exist that is meant to be driven either solely at redline or in a ditch. It is second only to the Honda Civic, but only by a bumper, which may or may not be attached to the car.
You was right.
Alright guys, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching, and again, a huge shout out to everyone who actually decided to take part in this fun little video. Their Instagrams and everything will be linked down below if you want to check them out. And thank you guys so much again for watching. You know, if you feel so inclined, like, subscribe, all that stuff. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay safe out there.